Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another meal prep video. So today is Sunday afternoon and I am in the kitchen trying to get some things done for the work week ahead. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I am a full-time working mom and I love to meal prep on the weekends to make my life easier during the work week. So I usually don't meal prep full meals. Usually I'll just do like snacks, breakfast, lunches, and then components of dinners for us to have during the week. Let me tell you what I'm planning on making this week. I'm going to be making some Cowboy Caviar. So if you haven't had that before, it's like a mixture of like beans and corn and veggies, kind of like a salsa. So you can either eat it on its own or you can also use it just as a dip, like a salsa with chips. I'm also going to be making some copycat Starbucks egg white bites, the red pepper ones that they have there. I want to make some chickpea curry. I have a recipe for that I've been wanting to try out. Maybe a few salads for Adam to take to lunch. And then I also have a new recipe for homemade hummus that I'm really excited to try. Before we get started, I also want to thank 310 Nutrition for sponsoring today's video. You guys know that I have worked with them before and I love the taste of their protein powders. The previous video I did with them was like a what I eat in a day video where I showed you how I use the smoothie powder, or I'm sorry, the protein powder to make a smoothie. But today I'm doing a fun, oop, there goes my dishwasher. Today I'm gonna be doing a fun twist on that. So what I really wanted to do was take their protein powder and show you guys how you could make 3 recipes with it. So not just smoothies, other things that you could use to incorporate protein powder into. And so in addition to all the food that I just mentioned, I'm also going to be making some peanut butter and banana protein muffins using the vanilla shake mix. I'm going to be making some Greek yogurt fruit dip that's chocolate and peanut butter flavored using their powdered peanut butter and the chocolate shake mix. And then I'm also going to be making up some shake packets. And these are sort of like, they're supposed to taste like a Nutella flavored smoothie, but I like to make up smoothie packets so I can have these in the freezer for use during the work week. So if you guys are interested in trying out their products, I'll leave all the links down below. They do have a really good deal on the starter kit right now. You get the huge bag of the shake mix that obviously you can use in other things too. You get the shaker bottle, some different samples of things, some cookbooks, and I think it's on sale for like $39, which is a huge discount. I have both the chocolate and the vanilla and I like them a lot. So I'll leave all the links below for the details on that. But I'm excited to show you these recipes. And so let's get started and we'll see what we can get done today. Actually, before we get started, I'm going to show you the meal prep containers that they have as well. So these are silicone meal prep containers, so you want to make sure that you're using them for like cold things and salads. I probably wouldn't reheat these in the microwave, but I did put them in the dishwasher and they worked great in there. And they're basically a great form of portion control. So I'm going to be using some of these today for different like hummus and salads and different things like that. So these are also available on the 310 Nutrition site, so I'll link those down below as well.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm getting started making is my fruit with yogurt dip. So I'm going to wash my strawberries in my OXO salad spinner. So I'm just pouring those into the salad spinner with the bowl and some cold water, and I'm putting a splash of vinegar in there to clean those up. Once they soak, I make sure that I rinse them off really well and then let them dry for just a little bit before I cut them up. So since these were going to go with the fruit dip, I decided to leave them whole. So all I'm doing is just using a paring knife to cut the tops off, and then I'm putting them into a few different plastic containers with a paper towel on the bottom just to soak up any excess moisture. So normally I like to put my strawberries in like the Rubbermaid produce keepers, but mine was full of tomatoes this week, so I didn't have room in there obviously. So I'm just using these. It's fine. We go through strawberries much faster than they go bad anyway. So next I'm making the fruit dip to go with these strawberries, and there are a lot of different recipes for this on the internet, but I'll just link the one that I use down below. I'm just using some plain non-fat Greek yogurt. This is the Chobani brand, and I'm putting in about 1.5 cups of that into a bowl, and then I'm going to use the 310 Nutrition chocolate shake mix along with the 310 peanut butter powder. So I put in 1 scoop of the chocolate protein powder and a heaping tablespoon of the peanut butter powder. I put in some honey, some cinnamon, and some vanilla, and that's it. I'm just giving it a stir until it is all combined. You do have to stir it up quite a bit to get that powder mixed into the yogurt, and this does taste better after it's had a chance to sit in the fridge for a few hours. But this is a great tip if you can't get your kids to eat their fruit. Just serve them with a side of this and they think they're dipping it in chocolate. Both my kids enjoyed this a lot, and it's super healthy. Obviously the Greek yogurt has no added sugar, so neither does the protein powder. So it's just that little squeeze of honey that's the sweetener in there. So I'm using this Systema container to add some strawberries and a little bit of yogurt dip. I'm just prepping these for later in the week for my kids to take to their school lunches. And then in this larger stainless steel container, I'm putting some of the yogurt dip in one spot. In the large spot, I'm putting some strawberries and a banana. And then I'm also going to cut up some peaches. I thought that would be good dipped in there as well, and putting that in the other slot. And so these are great to have in the fridge. My kids can, like I said, take them for lunch or eat them for breakfast. It's a nice, healthy, little snack pack to keep in your refrigerator. Okay, so last week I found a new recipe for homemade hummus on YouTube, and I wanted to try it out. So instead of using canned chickpeas, this actually uses dried chickpeas, which you see me here have in the Instant Pot. I just have a pound of those that I had soaked overnight, and I drained them, rinsed them, put them in the pot with a couple cloves of garlic. I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking soda. The recipe said that this helps the peels or the shells come off of the chickpeas easier. And then I'm just going to cover this with water and cook it in the Instant Pot. So I do follow Caitlin Shoemaker here on YouTube. She is a vegan YouTuber, but I love watching all kinds of food channels, including vegan channels. And she made this hummus that she claimed was the world's best, creamiest hummus. So after I watched that video, I definitely had to try it out. So I'm cooking the chickpeas on high pressure, manual pressure for 12 minutes. Now, I do have to say, if I did this again, I would probably cook them for 9 or 10, because you'll see here when I open the Instant Pot that they are a little bit mushy and started to actually break down on me. I also had quite a mess when I tried to let the liquid out, so I ended up moving the pot over to the sink because it was just spraying and splattering the chickpea juice everywhere. But you can see here that this is how they look when they're done. The recipe basically says to peel the chickpeas, but you can see that the mixture was kind of so pulverized and already started to break down that there's no way that I could have peeled those. It ended up working out just fine. I took the chickpea sort of mixture along with those garlic cloves in there and put it in a strainer, rinsed it with cold water, and then once it was mostly cool, I went ahead and put the chickpeas into the food processor. To the food processor, I am adding the juice of 2 lemons. The recipe said 1 lemon, but I like a lot of lemon juice in my hummus, so I added more. I'm also adding some kosher salt, and then I'm just going to blend that up until the chickpeas turn into a nice paste. Once that is done, I'm going to pour in some tahini. I'm also seasoning it with some cumin and some cayenne pepper, and then I will put the lid on the food processor and just let that go for 5 minutes. So I think the key to this hummus and why it turns out so creamy is that you really just let it process for a full 5 minutes. You also saw me adding some cold ice water there. Another reason why this hummus is awesome is because it's super healthy. It doesn't have any oil in it other than the oil that's in the tahini paste. So you can see how it turned out super smooth and creamy. I will definitely be trying this method again and this recipe again, sort of playing around with the flavors. This is probably the creamiest hummus I've ever made. So I think it would probably be even better if I were able to peel those chickpeas once they were done cooking. So I'm just putting this in a dish and sprinkling a little bit of cayenne on the top, and then I'll have this week to eat with cucumbers, and I also like to eat them with baby carrots and naan bread, and I could just portion that out as we go. Okay, so the next protein powder recipe that I'm going to share with you is a peanut butter banana protein muffin recipe. So I have in my bowl there 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm adding 1 scoop of the vanilla 310 shake powder. I'm also going to be adding some baking powder, some cinnamon, some salt, and some baking soda to obviously make sure that the muffins rise. So I'm going to whisk all the dry ingredients together and set those aside while I mix up the wet ingredients. So the protein powder is nice in this recipe because not only does it give the recipe obviously some added protein, but it gives it a little bit of a vanilla flavor too. So to a larger bowl, I'm putting some very ripe bananas in the bottom of there. The recipe called for, I think 1.5 cups of mashed banana. I didn't measure this per se. I just kind of eyeballed it. I think I used 3 or 3.5 bananas, and I'm just using a potato masher to mash those up and make sure that all of the large chunks are gone. So once the potatoes are mashed up, I'm adding about 1/2 cup of creamy peanut butter. You could also use almond butter if you wanted to. And then I'm also adding about 1/2 cup of honey. You could use maple syrup if you wanted to. And then 1/4 cup of melted coconut oil. I'm going to use my whisk and whisk that up and make sure that it all gets thoroughly combined. I love making muffins for meal prep ahead of time, especially on the weekends. Then they last all week. I just usually put them in a container on the counter, and my kids can have them for breakfast. So to complete the wet ingredients, I added a couple eggs and also some vanilla unsweetened almond milk, just using my whisk to get that all combined. And then I'll use a regular spoon or wooden spoon to fold in the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients. I also added a few chocolate chips to this. That is obviously optional, but even just like 1/2 cup of chocolate chips in the whole batch of muffins is pretty healthy, and it helps my kids think that they're really eating something special, even though they're only getting a few chocolate chips. So I'm just using my cookie scoop, or I guess it's usually considered an ice cream scoop, and my muffin tin liners. These are silicone, and my new nonstick muffin tin as well to get these into the oven. These call for baking, I think at 375 degrees for around 20 minutes, and that was about perfect. Don't overbake them or they will get dry, and they will continue to cook a little bit as they cool on the counter. So here is what they look like when they're done. I would definitely recommend this recipe. Both my kids really liked it, and like I said, they like to have these for after school snacks, or sometimes I put them in their lunch boxes, and they'll also have them for breakfast during the week with some fruit or yogurt. So I'm just putting these into a plastic container that has a snap-on lid, and those will be there on the counter for us this week to have. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to prep are some smoothie packs for this quote Nutella shake. It is a chocolate shake that tastes a little bit like Nutella. So I like to prep smoothie packs with frozen bananas because anything I can do to help me get out the door faster in the mornings is always a good thing. So I'm just going to prep 2 of these. I have 2 Ziploc bags. I'm slicing up a banana to put into each of the bags, and then all I'm going to do is on top of the banana put 1 scoop of the chocolate 310 nutrition protein powder. That's it. It might seem kind of silly to put the protein powder in with the bananas, but honestly, like I said, any steps that I can eliminate in the mornings makes this really easy. So I'm just going to get those zipped up, and then if you kind of toss them together, the protein powder will coat the bananas a little bit, and this works great. You'll see here when I show you in a little bit how I make it up. None of the powder sticks in the bag, and it works perfectly. So I'm getting those in the freezer, and then I'm also going to show you how this blends up. This was actually the next morning. I was making Connor one of these. So I'm just going to be using some unsweetened vanilla almond milk, some almond butter, and my smoothie pack. That's it. So I'm going to pour about 10 ounces of vanilla unsweetened almond milk into my NutriBullet blender. And then I'll put the frozen bananas and the protein powder bag on top of that. And then next I'm just putting in some of the almond butter. You could also use peanut butter if you wanted to. And then we're just going to blend that up.
Okay, taste it. Good? Good. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to be prepping is some curried chickpeas. This is a recipe that I found online. I'll link it down below. So I'm starting out with some dal, and if you don't know what that is, they are basically like small chickpeas that are halved. They're dried beans. So I'm putting those in a pot along with some coconut milk, some water, and some curry powder. And then you just want to cook those on a really low simmer for about 30 minutes until they're tender, and that will make the base for your curry sauce. I've never cooked, chickpeas from dry like this before. I guess they're not really chickpeas, they're dal. But I've never cooked them like this before, and it was really, really good. So you can see here, sorry, I'm steaming up the camera, as the coconut milk and curry powder and water and dal is simmering. Like I said, just cook that until those are soft and tender, and then you'll put your chickpeas in at a later stage. So on top of the chickpeas and curry, I'm going to put a tomato and cucumber salad. So I'm just taking some English cucumber and cutting that up into small chunks, putting that in a bowl. And then I had some cherry tomatoes in the refrigerator to use up, and so I'm just having those and putting them in the bowl with the cucumbers. This salad is really good on its own, actually. And if I didn't mention, this is a vegan recipe. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, this would be a good one to prep for you. I'm also adding some shallots. The original recipe didn't call for this, but I had them in the refrigerator and I wanted to use them up, and it worked out just fine. I'm also going to add some lemon juice and some cilantro. Again, the original recipe did not call for cilantro, but I'm glad that I added it because I think it did add a nice freshness to this salad. So once all of your ingredients are in the bowl, you can season it with salt and pepper and a little bit of olive oil and just stir that up. And then we'll actually end up keeping this refrigerated separately from the curry, because obviously we will want to reheat the curry and not reheat that salad. So again, while the dal is simmering, I'm going to make what's called a tarka to put on the top of the dish. And basically this is just sauteed garlic, almonds, some salt, some chili flakes, and some mustard seeds. I've never made this like this before, and it actually turned out really good. I think it gives the dish like a nice crunch on the top and some saltiness and spiciness. So I would recommend trying it if you never have before. In a small saucepan, or I guess it's a skillet really, I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to put in my chopped garlic and my sliced almonds and let that saute on the stove until it is nice and golden brown. Just make sure you don't burn it. And then to that, I'm adding salt, mustard seeds, and chili flakes. And then just kind of stir that around until everything is nice and golden and all the spices are heated through. You can set that off to the side, and you'll put this on top of the curry when you put it in your meal prep bowls.
Okay, so to the curry, I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 can of chickpeas that were drained and rinsed really well, and then I'm just going to simmer that a little bit until it thickens. And I did mash some of the chickpeas with the back of my spoon just a little bit to thicken up the mixture just slightly. So for the salad, like I said, I'm going to be storing that separately, so I'm putting that into 2 smaller meal prep containers. These are just the Rubbermaid Clear Views that I get at Walmart. And then anything that I heat up, I always put in a glass dish because I just don't like heating up plastic in the microwave. It gets stained and I'm not like that. So I did have some cooked quinoa. I just bought that pre-cooked at the store and heated it up. So I'm putting that as a base and then putting the curried chickpea mixture on the top and sprinkling it with the tarka or the almond mixture. So that's it for this meal prep. This is something that probably Adam won't eat, but I really like. And so this will be a nice hearty portion for me to take to work. I don't even know if I'll be able to eat it all. But here it is, 2 portions of the curried chickpeas and 2 portions of the cucumber salad. So really looking forward to eating that this week at work. Okay, so the next thing on my list to prep is some Cowboy Caviar. I'm going to start out with 2 cans of beans, 1 of black-eyed peas and 1 of black beans that I've rinsed and drained. And then I'm also going to drain 1 can of petite diced tomatoes to add to that as well. I'll post the original recipe that I'm using for this down below, but it's very simple. I actually saw Leanne from Grady's Mom here on YouTube make this not too long ago, and I was like, man, I haven't made that in a long time and I really want some. So again, instead of using canned corn, I'm using 2 ears of fresh corn, which worked out really well because I have tons of fresh corn in my refrigerator and freezers right now. I'm also going to add 1 red bell pepper that I'm chopping up. Again, the recipe did not call for this either, but I always put chopped up pepper in my Cowboy Caviar. So yeah, it's totally preference. Anything you basically have lying around in the fridge that you need to use up as far as fresh vegetables, you can add in here. It's very forgiving. So I actually like to eat this salad plain. You could also have it on top of like grilled salmon or grilled fish, or you could also eat it like a salsa with tortilla chips. It's very versatile. It's super hearty. It keeps in the fridge all week, and it's just a great, refreshing summer food. I also chopped up half of a red onion, and I'm getting that in the bowl. There are my drained tomatoes, and then I'm also going to add the juice of 1 lime, and I'll also chop up some cilantro and put that in there. I'm using way more cilantro than the recipe called for, but that's just personal preference. If you don't like cilantro, you could use green onions or parsley. I know that there are some people who don't like cilantro. Me personally, I love it. I could eat it in mass quantities all day, every day. The last ingredient, or this kind of the marinade or sauce for this, is some fat-free Italian dressing. So this is just the Walmart brand. If you use the fat-free, it really saves on fat and calories in this dish, and you really don't even notice the taste of it. So I'm just putting in 3/4 of a cup of that. I did add a few pinches of salt, but you can taste it and add salt or pepper to taste, and that is it. So I'm just going to get this stirred up and then portioned out into containers. Since this is something that is eaten cold, I'm not going to worry about putting it in glass containers, and I'm using the 310 Nutrition meal prep containers, the 2 smaller ones. So just putting that in there. This is something that Adam and I can take to work and eat with some grilled chicken or as a side with a can of soup, and it'll be a great lunch. I'm pouring the remainder into a larger container, and we'll probably have that with some dinners this week. So here is my Cowboy Caviar. If you've never made this before, I would definitely recommend trying it. It is a total crowd pleaser, super duper healthy and delicious. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to do is a breakfast meal prep, and you guys have seen me make these before, but not this particular version. So I've really been enjoying the egg white bites from Starbucks, the red pepper ones. They're a little bit healthier than like the traditional ham or bacon egg bites. And so to start these out, I'm going to be sauteing some red pepper in a little skillet with just a little bit of olive oil. I will leave the recipe link that I used for the base of this in the description box below. I did modify it a little bit. Like the original Starbucks recipe obviously only uses egg whites, but I just used whole eggs because I don't have an issue obviously eating the egg yolks. But I did try to cut up the red pepper as finely as I could because these are going to go in some silicone muffin tins, or not muffin tins, but some silicone molds in your Instant Pot. So here are my red peppers sauteing. You just want to cook those until they're a little bit tender. While those are cooking, I'm going to wash my green onions. I just have those in my salad spinner with some cold water. I like to cut them in half so that they will fit. Here are the silicone molds. You can get these on Amazon. I'll link them down below. I use them all the time. So you just put your sauteed veggies and your green onions in the bottom of those. Make sure that you do spray them with a little bit of cooking spray because they can stick at times. Next, I'm going to mix up the egg mixture that goes in these. So for this, you'll need 6 eggs, and I'm cracking them into a bowl that has a spout because you'll be using a hand mixer to mix these up, or I'm sorry, a blender, a stick blender to blend these up, and then you'll be pouring it directly into the silicone molds. I've had a few questions on this particular recipe. If you don't have an Instant Pot, you could totally make these in muffin tins in the oven. I've made them before. I think I baked them at like 400 for 15 to 20 minutes and, put them in some silicone muffin liners in the oven, and they turn out great. So for the egg mixture, you'll need, again, the 6 eggs. I used 1/3 cup of feta cheese, 1/3 cup of Monterey Jack cheese, 3/4 cup of plain Greek yogurt, 3/4 cup of cottage cheese, and then I added a little bit of hot sauce and salt and pepper. So the original recipe called for 2/3 cup of cheddar cheese, but I actually looked up the ingredients in the Starbucks egg bites and saw that they had Monterey Jack and feta and used that instead, and they turned out so incredible. I actually ate 2 of them for breakfast this morning, and I think they are super duper close in taste to the Starbucks egg white bites. So if you like those, you'll definitely like these. So I'm just using this bowl again with the spout and pouring this carefully into the silicone molds. And then I have my Instant Pot set up with a trivet in the bottom, and then I'm going to pour 1 cup of water in there. This is what we're going to use to steam the egg bites. So you can just place the trays kind of staggered in there, one on top of the other so that they fit. And then go ahead, put the lid on, set it to sealing, and then you're going to steam this on manual high for 8 minutes. And then I did not let the pressure out. I just let it do a natural pressure release. And here is what they look like when they are all done. So let them cool a little bit before you take them out, and then turn them out onto a plate. Okay, so I'm going to use the last meal prep container I have from 310 and make a salad in it for Adam to take to work tomorrow. I'm just cutting up some iceberg lettuce and putting that in the bottom along with some sliced cherry tomatoes. I'm also going to chop up some cucumber and put it in there along with some salami and some pepperoni. He likes his salads really, really simple. And oddly enough, he doesn't really care for cold grilled chicken on his salads. I love it, but he doesn't. And so whenever I make him a salad to take to work, I always usually just use like lunch meat. Usually I'll make like a chef salad, so like turkey or ham. But today I decided to use a little bit of salami and turkey pepperoni. For his dressing, I'm just going to grab some of the Olive Garden Italian dressing out of the fridge and put it in this little reusable dressing container. And then this will be a great side for him to take to work. He likes to take cans of soup to work every once in a while. And so he'll have like a small salad and a can of soup for lunch. So here's a look at everything that I got meal prep today. You can see I was pretty productive and proud of myself. So again, I did the protein peanut butter banana muffins. I also got my fruit prepped along with that protein dip. that I use the chocolate protein powder and the yogurt for. There are my egg bites. I'll take those to work this week and reheat them for breakfast. There's the curried chickpeas along with the salad with tomatoes and cucumbers, super refreshing. My little smoothie packets with my chocolate 310 shake powder and sliced bananas. There's my hummus that I'll take to work along with some pita crackers. And then I got 2 herbs, washed up my green onions and my parsley. There's Adam's salad along with the Cowboy Caviar, 3 containers of that. So that is it for this week's meal prep. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out 310 Nutrition in the description box below if you want to try out their protein powder. It tastes great and it's awesome. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.